I became a 911 dispatcher because I needed to feel useful again. After my divorce, everything felt optional, like I could disappear from my own life and no one would notice for a few days, maybe longer. This job didn't allow that. Every call mattered. Every second mattered. You were the voice between chaos and control. Or at least, that's what I told myself. The truth is, I thought if I could help strangers survive their worst moments, it might make mine feel smaller. Manageable. I used to believe that emergencies followed rules, that panic had patterns, that if you stayed calm long enough, you could bring order back into anything. I don't think that anymore. The call center sits on the edge of the city, in a low concrete building with no windows on the operations floor. You lose track of time in there. Fluorescent lights hum overhead. The air always smells faintly of burnt coffee and recycled air. Screens glow in rows, maps, call logs, blinking indicators waiting to be answered. It never really gets quiet. Even when no one's talking, there's always something. Distant voices, static, the soft clicking of keyboards, the constant low hum of incoming signals. My station was position 12, headset. Dual monitors, one for call intake, one for dispatch coordination. Routine becomes everything. Answer, assess, route, repeat. That's how you survive it. That's where I met Denise. 20 years on the job. Calm in a way that felt unnatural at first, like nothing could surprise her anymore. On my third night shift, she leaned over during a lull and said, "Let me guess. You still think every call makes sense if you listen hard enough," I smiled. "Isn't that the job?" She shook her head. "No. The job is deciding which calls don't." I laughed a little. She didn't. Then, almost as an afterthought, she added, "If a caller starts the conversation before you speak, disconnect." I frowned. "What do you mean?" She took a sip of her coffee. "You'll know. I asked her about it later. We were in the break room. 3:17 am, the worst hour, when the body realizes it should be asleep and everything feels slightly unreal. You said something about callers starting first." Denise didn't answer right away. She stirred her coffee slowly, like she was choosing her words. "Sometimes," she said, "a call comes through. Already active. That's not possible." "The system doesn't." "I know what the system does." Her tone wasn't sharp, just final. "Sometimes you'll hear breathing before you say anything. Or talking. That's probably a misroute. Crossed lines? Maybe." She looked up at me then. "Just don't engage. Why?" She hesitated. And that hesitation, that's what got to me. Because, she said carefully, "Those calls don't follow protocol." I leaned back, crossing my arms. "So what, it's a glitch?" Denise gave a small, humorless smile. "If it is, it's one that knows when you're listening." I told myself she was messing with me. Night shift humor. Dark jokes to cope with stress. Still, I remembered the rule. I just didn't think I'd need it. The next few nights were normal. Busy, but normal. Domestic disputes. Minor accidents. The occasional panic call that turned out to be nothing. You learn to separate yourself. Voice steady. Heart detached. There was a moment around 4 am one night where everything slowed down. No incoming calls. No radio chatter. Just the soft hum of the building and the faint static in my headset. It almost felt peaceful. Then my screen blinked. Incoming call. No number. No location data. Just a blank field. I straightened up. Probably a system hiccup, I muttered. I hit accept. Brought the headset closer. Opened my mouth to speak. And froze. Because someone was already there. Breathing. Slow. Steady. Like they'd been waiting. I hesitated. Just for a second. Then I followed protocol. 911, what's your emergency? The line went dead instantly. Call duration, 2 seconds. I stared at the screen. There was a pressure in my chest. Subtle, but there, like I'd missed something. I told myself it was nothing. and I almost believed it. The second call came the next night. Same thing. No caller ID, no location. I accepted it slower this time. Careful. The line was already open. No breathing this time. Just silence. Thick, heavy silence. I felt it in my ears. 911, what's your emergency? For a moment, nothing. Then, a voice. Calm, clear, too close. Why did you hang up on me yesterday? My throat went dry. This line is for emergencies only. If you heard me breathing. I glanced at the system logs. No previous call recorded. No, I didn't. You hesitated. My hand tightened on the desk. I'm going to disconnect this call if you're at position 12. I froze. The voice didn't change, didn't rise or fall. You turn your screen brightness down after midnight. It continued. You think it helps with the headaches. My chest started to tighten. How do you? The line cut. I went straight to Denise. Told her everything. She didn't interrupt, didn't question, just listened. Then she went pale. Actually pale. You spoke to it, she said quietly. I thought it was just. You answered. Her voice was shaking now. Did it say your name? No. She let out a breath. Then you still have time. Time for what? She didn't answer that. The third call came before my shift ended. I didn't want to pick it up, but you don't get that choice. It rang and rang and rang. Finally, I answered. I didn't say anything this time, just listened. The voice came immediately. Soft. Almost. Patient. Daniel. My name. Before I said a word. My entire body went cold. You shouldn't ignore me, it said. I'm trying to help. My hands were shaking now. What do you want? There was a pause. Then, to be heard, that's when I realized something worse. It wasn't calling for help. It was calling me. My last shift started like any other, but nothing felt normal anymore. Every sound was sharper, every silence heavier. I kept replaying the calls in my head, trying to find logic, trying to find control. Around 3:00 am, the system crashed. Every screen went black, except mine. Position 12 stayed active. One incoming call, already connected. I didn't touch anything, didn't breathe. The voice spoke anyway. You're alone now, I looked around. Every other station dark, headsets abandoned, no movement, no sound, just me and the call. I disconnected you, I said, my voice barely steady. No, it replied. You listened. The air felt wrong, too still, too heavy. What are you? I whispered. There was a long pause. Then, I'm the one who answers. Something behind me shifted. A chair, slowly, turning. I didn't look. I couldn't. The voice continued. You hear them every night. You just don't remember. My vision blurred. You think you're helping, it said softly. But you're just connecting them to me. The headset tightened against my ears. Not physically. But it felt like it. Like I couldn't take it off. You're very good at your job, Daniel. Something leaned closer. I could feel it. Not touch. Just presence. Cold. Listening. Stay on the line. I ripped the headset off, stumbled back, knocked over my chair. The screen flickered violently. The voice broke into static. Then, silence. The lights came back on. Other dispatchers reappeared like nothing happened. Normal chatter resumed, like it had never stopped. I quit the next day. Didn't file a report. Didn't try to explain. What would I even say? That something on the line knew me better than I knew myself? That it wasn't taking calls, it was collecting them? I still hear it sometimes. Not on a headset, not through a phone, just in quiet moments, when everything else fades. A faint static, a breath, waiting. I used to believe that every call had a source, a location, a person on the other end. I don't think that anymore. Some calls don't come from anywhere. They come from something that's already listening. And now, it knows my name.